Jessica, you are a Los Angelino for your entire life. Let's just start quickly with this moment. The Dodgers are World Series champs for the first time in 2 generations. What does that mean?
It means, I think about Clayton Kershaw. I mean, there's so many storylines, so many things, but that's the thing that stands out the most to me. The look of relief that he had before he celebrated, before the joy. We've talked about this here on this show, the narrative. It doesn't matter how good his starts were in the World Series. If they did not win it all, he can't put that behind him of what the postseason has meant to him, what he has meant with his career, all the numbers, all the greatness. Now we know Clayton Kershaw has done it all. My heart went out for him in finally getting that championship.
Jeff, to you, what's the biggest on-the-field story out of last night with the Dodgers finding a way to finally win a World Series championship?
Greenie, Clayton Kershaw certainly is the right answer, but the fact that Mookie Betts came into Los Angeles as the missing piece and comes out after his first year as a world champion again, after signing that 12-year, $365 million extension. You know, Dave Roberts, their manager, said earlier this week, if we had Mookie Betts back in 2018 when we were playing the Red Sox, we would have beaten them then. Well, they've got Mookie Betts now, and they've got their first championship in 32 years.
Okay, so the Dodgers get their due. No one's taking that away. But then the 2 huge controversial stories. Jessica, the decision by Kevin Cash to pull Blake Snell when he did. The analytics tell you it's the right move. Why wasn't it in your mind?
Well, I mean, the analytics are what got Tampa Bay to this point, and the numbers did show do not face this lineup a third time through. But Greenie, I mean, even live, not hindsight, in this moment, I was like, do not take him out of this game. Why? Because Mookie Betts at the top of this order, the way that these hitters were missing the ball, we're talking by this much against the fastball, the slider, the curveball, he had it all going. That's the feel component of this game that I love so much. And I love the numbers too, but you have to be able to trust your eyes and recognize greatness, and Blake Snell was that last night.
Now, Jeff, we see all the tweets that I put up there a few moments ago. The eye test certainly tells you, will there be people out there defending it today? Will people be telling us that Kevin Cash did the right thing last night?
The interesting thing about this, Greenie, is if you look at what the Tampa Bay Rays do, they do what was taught to them by Andrew Friedman, who happens to be running the Los Angeles Dodgers right now. Remember, he was the general manager for the Tampa Bay Rays before he went to the Dodgers, and all the ideas that they use in Tampa Bay, he brought along with him out to Los Angeles. Now, the difference, of course, is that he's got about 4 times the payroll that the Rays do, and, you know, when you have players like Mookie Betts and like Corey Seager and like Max Muncy and like Clayton Kershaw and Walker Buehler and Justin Turner, and I can go on and on and on, it's a whole lot easier to play the typical sort of old-fashioned brand of baseball. But if you go and look at what Dave Roberts did, a day before, he went out there and took Clayton Kershaw off the mound after 5 2/3 innings in an inning in which he had gotten 2 outs on 2 pitches. He got booed on the way back in, but the fact is that was the right move at the right time. Clayton Kershaw has gotten hit up in later innings, and Kevin Cash was concerned the same thing was going to happen to Blake Snell. I think the difference is Snell had been utterly dominant at that point, and it's hard to take him out then.
Okay, and then that brings us to the other storyline, and I have a tweet from Justin Turner after this. Again, he was pulled from the game because he had tested positive. He went back on the field afterwards to celebrate with his teammates, take his mask off as he did so. He tweeted, "Thanks to everyone reaching out. I feel great, no symptoms at all, just experienced every emotion you can possibly imagine. Can't believe I couldn't be out there to celebrate with my guys. So proud of this team and unbelievably happy for the city of LA. Hashtag World Series champs." Jeff, I saw that you worked on a long piece with an explanation of how this happened. It was sent to me, but I haven't had a chance to read all of it. So for everyone who was, I'm sure, wondering, how did he wind up back on that field last night?
Greenie, it's actually very simple. He walked back out there, and nobody stopped him, and nobody was going to get in the way of him. And, you know, you listen to his Dodgers teammates. Mookie Betts said essentially there's no way that they were not going to have him out here with us. Justin Turner is the heartbeat of this Dodgers team. He's been around since 2014. He's been through the highs. He's been through the lows. And he has spent so much time working toward this moment. He was not going to be denied posing with the World Series trophy. And yet the optics of the whole thing, frankly, are terrible. And I think that everybody involved recognized recognize that. I just think that they thought in the end, as bad as the optics are, having him out there was worth it.
And so, Jessica, we were talking right before we came on the air. Imagine that circumstance if the Rays win the game last night. What will we be talking about this morning?
That we're not going to have a Game 7 right now. I mean, this game would get postponed, and you got to think about the repercussions of how many more positive tests are going to come because of this. And even though the optics looked bad last night, the season is over, everyone goes home. But imagine that this needed to have another game, that this Dodgers team needed to get back out on the field, and how much this storyline would continue. Of course, how the season started, the fact that this would be at the end, and if the Rays had won that Game 7 being postponed, having so much controversy because of Justin Turner's positive test and the repercussions of him coming back out on the field.
All right, Jeff, give me a 30-second narrative ribbon on what we've just all lived through, from the baseball season that we talked about every single day that may not happen in July, all the way through to last night. How do we sum it up?
Greeny, I like to think of sports as really a mirror of society. And the fact that we started this season in the pandemic and that it was shut down and we didn't know that it was going to play baseball at all, and the fact that we're ending the season talking about somebody testing positive for COVID-19, I think is a perfect bow on all of it. And there's going to be a lot of discussion over the next week, 2 weeks, month, 2 months, who knows how long, about how the Dodgers acted here and about Justin Turner's decision. But the fact is, they made that choice. They are going to live with it, and ultimately, they're the world champions.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.